But even with Futurama, for example, when you first did that show, did you think, because I know we were talking about how when you do something, people in the future will look back on it and think, oh, that was amazing. That was so good. When you first did that show, did you think it was going to have that long-standing impact that it has today? Because it's been so long and it's still so popular.
You never know when you're in the middle of doing something,
Hmm.
whether it was 30 years ago or 15 years ago. When you're in the middle of working on something and recording it, you have no idea how it's going to be perceived by people.
Hmm.
You have no idea that you're participating in what will become a cultural phenomenon, or a cult thing. You really can't know that until it comes out, and then people kind of define it for you. And they define you. They say, they'll describe your acting or your voiceovers or something, and it's kind of up to them what to call you. Some people will call somebody a genius, and other people will be like, pass. You know,
That's what makes it so fun and riveting, this job, is because you do things and it has that, you get that rush of that knowing that, like, will it be good? Will it be not, like, will it not be good? And will it be a success or a failure? But that's the rush you get. And that's what makes you want to give it your all and do the best you can do. And hopefully people can resonate. I've resonated with the show and millions of people have. So it's obviously literally one of my favorite shows. And actually, I don't know if this is true. I found it really
thanks.
funny. No problem. Did you audition for the role of Bender as well? Or I don't know if I
Yes.
read, yeah. So I read that and I thought that was so interesting. What his voice sound like if you were Bender? Did you have like an idea?
Um,
Like, what would that be like?
it it was nothing compared to what John brought to the table. It, I just thought of Bender, because they said he was a robot that bends things. That was his job,
Hmm.
and I thought he would be like a surly construction worker or something, and the voice was, it was a contrivance. It wasn't like I had a handle on that character. The other ones came easy, naturally to me,
Hmm.
but the Bender one was like a construction worker. Like, you guys take that pipe and bring it over here and dig that hole, you know.
Ah.
But I mean, there was nothing special about that voice because it could have been anybody. But John, he had a little formula of what he was going for in his head, and it worked. It clicked.
Yeah, when I was watching it when I was a kid, I never realized that you did voices of like the for okay, I always knew you did Fry and Professor Farnsworth, but I never knew you
Mhm.
did Zoidberg and Zap Brannigan. Like those voices to me, I think personally my favorite one you do. They're all great, but I think Zoidberg is probably the most. He's just the funniest character because he always manages to get like the shit end of the stick. He's always like poor guy.
Yes.
You go, oh come on, poor guy.
Well,
You know.
it sort of underscores that he's a loser, but his heart, however many he has, is in the
Oh
right
man,
place.
that was good. That's a good one. How many hearts he has?
Yeah, but I mean, it's in the right place, and Fry's the same way. It's like he's all over the place, and he's needy and whiny and complaining, which was what I was when I was 25, and that's why I did the voice the way I did. That's how I sounded. I was in a band. Oh man, I broke a string. Now what am I gonna do?
That's so funny.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's what became Fry. But Zoidberg, I am an old soul too, and stuff that happened before I was born, I was riveted by. And there were a couple of people. There was one guy named George Jessel. He was an old comedian back in the 30s and 40s. He was around, and he had kind of a marble mouth. He would say, "You know the definition of a smart ass? A fellow that can sit on an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is." And then there was another actor named Lou Jacoby from Yiddish theater, and he was the one in the movie Arthur that leaned into Dudley Moore and went, "What's it like to have all that money?" And and so it's a combination of the two of them because Zoidberg had all that stuff hanging off his face. I said, something's got to happen with that. It can't go for naught. It can't be wasted. That attribute, and so the speech would be affected, I think.
Yeah, wow, no, it's funny the way you even come up with like the process of like merging those two voices and putting it together. These are things that like professional artists do, such as yourself. It's like you think of other voice actors that like who knows if they even do that the whole process. They may just think of just a silly idea that might work, but how you
Yes.
go into like things that you resonated with, that how you're an old soul, you got inspiration from these two characters and you put it together, but it still sounds like a completely different thing. That's where the magic happens.
Yes. And with Zap Brannigan, I've spent a lot of time in radio in Boston and in New York. And there were still some of the old guys still around. I used to call them big dumb announcers.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they were like, well, it's 5 minutes past the big hour of 5 o'clock, and let's see, we're on the downside of the traffic, and I guess we have to take a look at it. And and I said, who talks like that? And I can do it, but I always thought it was rather silly and sort of pretentious and pompous. And then I thought, oh, and there were announcers that would belabor their words. They go, well, as I look out the window,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
they do that. Yeah, I noticed that. Yep.
yeah, and it's like the hamburger helper of words. It's just to buy time when you haven't got anything to say. So, so I thought that would be very funny for Zap Brannigan, and that's kind of the way what Phil Hartman would have done because I met him, and we shared our love of those big dumb announcers. He was very much into that, and so that became Zap. I thought it was. They described him as if William Shatner ran the Enterprise and not Captain Kirk.
That is golden. That is golden.